The simplest way to describe it is with our mission statement, which is to create a healing community empowered by God's unconditional love, where broken people become whole. An environment of beauty and acceptance for those struggling with chronic mental health issues and homelessness that fosters hope, inner peace, dignity, the joy of life, and genuine love for others. We realize we can't do the changing ourselves, but we can do the best we can to model what that life looks like. We're still at the beginning. We're close to 5 years old now, which is kind of amazing. Yeah, we've made it that far.
Wow.
Yeah, but really, we're still at the beginning. We've got, as you mentioned, 21 acres, and the goal, when it's built out to maximum capacity, will be 7 neighborhoods of 20 tiny homes each, right?
I think all of us have areas in our life that need healing, and we're just not so open to admit it in front of somebody. But I am not ashamed, to say that there's places that are still broken inside of me, and I am experiencing the village as a part of the answer for my own walk. And so it's such a beautiful thing to watch it. And then as I'm healing, I can speak into other people's lives because I've been there, understand that, thought those thoughts, lived in that darkness, and then the freedom that comes.
How are y'all doing?
We're doing so good.
Yeah.
We have this one guy at the village that has named every day for something specific. So today is Phenomenal Friday.
Phenomenal Friday.
And it's like, I can't wait for Magnificent, Marvelous Monday. Magnificent Monday.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm happy about it.
Terrific Tuesday.
Terrific Tuesday.
Wonderful.
It's really I think it's Transformative Tuesday.
Okay.
But I mean, you got the principle.
You got the basic idea.
Wonderful.
Wealthy Wednesday.
Wealthy Wednesday.
Wonderful
Wednesday.
Wealthy Wednesday. It's like if I wake up and I'm not in a good mood, I have to ask myself, what day is this? And it's like, oh, it's Phenomenal Friday. I'm already good.
Yeah.
It's like it changes my perspective on the day. Just a word.
Like we have a neighbor, every time you saw him, you're like, how's it going? He's like, it's a wonderful day to be alive.
Yeah.
Great day to be alive.
Yeah.
It was just, I don't think I've ever seen him in a bad mood either.
My little, have you met Sam's little guy?
Maybe.
Okay. Well, I mean, like he's just this big. I mean, he's just this tiny little creature. And you ask him, how are you doing? And he said, I'm doing so good. He's just a little kid. And so I started, it's like it impacted me. So I started saying, I'm so good. And it's like, and I am. It's like amazing how that
Attitude.
in ways, it's
Perspective.
Perspective. And,
Well, I love the perspective of little kids because life is so simple, and that's really the way it needs to be.
Yeah,
stay.
We make it way too complicated.
we do. What's your perspective, Ben? How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing good.
That's good. So good.
Yeah, we just hosted a Sweet 16 birthday party last weekend, so that is wild to think about. My kiddos are only years away from being out of my house. So
Yeah, it's scary.
Is that a good feeling or a bad feeling?
oh, it's
Mixed.
a mixed
Mixed feeling.
for sure.
So yeah, the village. What is the village?
The simplest way to describe it is with our mission statement, which is to create a healing community empowered by God's unconditional love, where broken people become whole. And the vision statement also kind of captures it, which is an environment of beauty and acceptance for those struggling with chronic mental health issues and homelessness that fosters hope, inner peace, dignity, the joy of life, and genuine love for others. So the people that we are attempting to serve do have either chronic mental health issues or homelessness, sometimes both, because they often go together. And we are not a mental health facility, but an environment that is conducive to healing.
Hmm.
So in a nutshell, anything to add to that, Constance?
No, what I like to think about is God called us to create space for people to heal. And so we have 21 acres available for that to happen. And every day is a unique way of opening up a door to someone's thought process, their mental ability, their spiritual um, understanding, their purpose. So I love that.
Yeah.
And of course, we can't do any of it without the Lord. So that makes it
Hmm.
exciting every day. You just don't know
You
what
never know.
what could come your way, and then how you take the challenge and move on. So I love the experience. Grateful for it.
Yeah.
And
And I think that part that you just mentioned is what we've really tried to keep at the forefront of our minds from the beginning because, you see a lot of social experiments and housing projects that end up being disastrous fails. And I think we realize that if the Holy Spirit is not in charge, it's just going to be one more failed experiment.
Hmm.
So we we realize we can't do the changing ourselves, but we can do the best we can to model what that life looks like. We're not certainly far from perfect from that standpoint, but the goal, we're still at the beginning. We're close to 5 years old now, which is kind of amazing. Yeah, we've made it that far.
wow.
Yeah, but really, we're still at the beginning. We've got, as you mentioned, 21 acres, and the goal, when it's built out to maximum capacity, will be 7 neighborhoods of 20 tiny homes each. Right now, we just have our first neighborhood complete. Second neighborhood is under construction, so we still have a long ways to go. And what our hope is that this will be a culture um, that is um, modeled by the staff, live-in staff. We're not talking about people that just kind of check in with folks once a week or once a month, like some of the counseling situations are limited by, but people that actually live on site and really develop close relationships with these villagers.
Hmm.
We're trying to create a community and a family that many people don't have. So I do hope that this someday will be a community of very rich and deep fellowship that people can feel fulfilled and get their tanks filled and also understand through life situations what it means to walk with Christ, what it means to be transformed, not just from external um changes, that are important. We do try to deal with that too, with teaching people how to work, how to be responsible, how to pitch in and help around the property, that type of thing, but also how to forgive, how to control what you say, your thought process.
Work through conflicts,
Yes,
setting up healthy boundaries,
yes,
learning financial management.
yeah,
Like there's a lot of stuff, a lot of layers,
yes,
of what we're trying to accomplish. So that
right.
makes it exciting too.
And
So,
I think what we're learning too along the way is learning to expect some of those conflicts. It used to rock us when we'd have a week of drama, and we've had a lot of weeks of drama, haven't we?
Yeah.
Um, and sometimes that can be extremely discouraging
hmm
when you feel like, okay, the community is actually happening. This is really taking shape. And then all of a sudden, two people will get into this big fight usually over nothing, but it rocks everybody. And then it's a matter of trying to walk people through it, talk people through it, and sometimes it gets worked out and other times it drags on for a while. But I think we're at that point now where we realize that's part of the picture. It's
Well, I think too, like your paradigm is to help broken people who need a place to go to be made whole. Like you can't expect them to come in whole
yes,
and have no turmoil, no
exactly.
conflict.
Right.
Um,
So we have to just accept that people are at different stages, and healing for one person looks very different than it does for another.
mhm. Yeah, very case by case for sure.
I like this aspect of the community, but also having the villagers speak in to what they are looking for in a community as well. So when we had some of those turmoil experiences where we allowed some things into the village that probably shouldn't have been there, and we didn't know any better. But now that we've gone through it, we can say that's not the community that we want to be, And so those that are struggling with, their overcoming addictions of all different kinds of situations, they like a place that's safe. And so when we become that safe place, then everyone gets to contribute to that safety. And that's really a beautiful thing. It's taken about 2 years just to work on culture, what we're trying to develop and what that looks like. But I love the part that these villagers that we have in the beginning are in the beginning 5 years, of beginning, but they are helping set the tone, of what it's going to look like for other people or other neighborhoods. And it's not like we're dictating how life should be, to somebody. They get to participate in making that happen. And those that grab the idea are just really role models now
Mhm.
for other folks coming in. And I don't think I expected that,
Yeah,
like
that
it's
is
happening right now.
absolutely happening.
Yeah.
We have had some that I think we can say have been genuinely dramatically transformed.
Mm.
Just having that sense of security and stability in community, where it gives them a purpose, meaning, and they have a place to fit in. And in fact, we just had one person recently tell another that it was watching these two particular ladies, how much they've changed, that really opened his heart to maybe this faith stuff
Hmm.
is worth looking into. And he was an agnostic when he came, and now he wants to get baptized.
Hmm.
So, you know, and that is the beauty of a living situation, because you can't achieve something, not that we're achieving it, but those things don't happen just by one conversation. It's observation, it's people watch, it may not be that people gave him a lot of lectures and, um,
Yeah, he saw by example over time.
yes,
Yeah,
right.
because you hit them over the head with it. That's a sure way to run
Right,
them
and
off.
and that particular person was not the type that you can hit over the head.
Yeah.
It really needs to be
Mhm.
something that seems genuine and real over time.
Hmm.
That's when it sinks in.
So, what is the origin of the village?
Like, how did it
Yeah,
get
how did it
started?
start?
Oh, well, interestingly enough, Laura and I had met maybe 20 years ago over furniture at my shop. She hired me to refinish a table for her. She lived in my backyard, raised kids.
It
I
was a
raised kids.
neighborhood, like, right
Mm.
behind her
Yeah.
property.
But we never saw each other, never related. But later on in life, we had a common friend that was listening to each of us tell our stories with our challenges with our kids that suffer from chronic mental health conditions. And she said, well, maybe the two of you all need to meet. So Nukes was this wonderful place. We had lunch together, all three of us, and that gave us an opportunity to just really dialogue about the stuff that hurts, how the walk is so difficult. What can we do to help our kids? How do we get um, answers? And it was really dicey back in the beginning. I mean, I know you've met Dan, and there's like it's hard. I mean, it's really hard, and so a lot of things just fell into place in a short amount of time. I remember just coming back from a mission trip to San Francisco, and I spent a week learning about homelessness. And the year before, I had gone to San Francisco to see all the beautiful things, not knowing that one street behind was where the beginning of 30,000 homeless people in the Tenderloin, were living. And so we did a lot of work to help. And I came back just feeling so heavy burdened, because it's like we can feed people, but that doesn't fix the problem, right? It's like there's got to be some deeper things going on to help elevate people from a lifestyle of the expectation of, the challenges of homelessness. And when I came home, I just recognized that that's where Dan was heading himself. Burned bridges with family, burned bridges with places for people to stay. And
Dan is?
Dan Engelking is my son.
Mhm.
Yeah. And of course, it's about 4 years that he's been gone. And for him, he died homeless on the streets of Houston, and it's like it's
Yeah.
still a painful, thing. And I remember, we were talking about how the two of us got together, but so Laura, of course, you tell your part.
Yeah. Okay. Well, my son Ross, who was my second son, he was always extremely introverted, which I don't see as a bad thing at all. Very deep, very sensitive person. But, part of it's how he's wired. Part of it is life situations and hurts, and we won't get into all that. But to make a long story short, he got to a point where his serious depression was so deep that he started talking to me about thoughts of, and that was just terrifying to me. I felt very close to Ross, for a time, and for a time I considered him my best friend. We just had the most beautiful conversations. He was so deep, so real with me, but a lot of this new agey stuff kind of got him into a dark, deep hole where he started looking in the wrong place. And I do take solace in knowing that his faith was solid, at least until he just started looking for answers, looking for easy fixes, I think. And anyway, when I could tell this thing was not something he was just mentioning for attention, that he was serious. Um, and I did try to get him help. I talked to doctors and counselors and police and lawyers and teachers and you name it, pastors. And most people just didn't know what to say. Um, and I think when people get in a situation like that, they feel a lot of shame that their life is not going well, that they're not able to pull themselves out of this state. So I did call a mutual friend, like Constance said, and I just called and said, "Hey, do you have anybody at your church possibly that could talk to Ross about?" I tried all these different avenues, and so that's kind of how it got started. And she knew Constance for many years and suggested that maybe we get together. We had some similar family situations that she thought we could maybe benefit from having someone to talk to. So we met for lunch that day, and I had expressed to Constance that I just really wished there was a community environment that was more long-term, this counseling deal that, you know, once every other week for an hour, it
It's
I
just not
mean, it
enough.
might be better than nothing, but, when someone is in that much pain, emotional, spiritual turmoil, an hour every other week is just not enough. And, of course, Ross didn't like the idea of taking medication, and he wanted to, uh, I don't know, call the shots on that, take 10 milligrams one day and 40 the next and nothing for 2 weeks, and then, it just he was not very compliant with that, but, um, so, at least my vision was a community where everybody was struggling with something, and you did not need to feel shame about it. You could talk to maybe the person right next door to you and, knowing that they have issues too, and it's like no big deal, you
Mm.
know? And, of course, Constance was worried Dan was gonna end up homeless
Mhm.
someday, so really the 2 I guess your focus was more homelessness, mine was more mental health, and they both go together so perfectly. So, we just started brainstorming and,
Then we found an
right.
organization in Austin called Community First Village, and they were getting people off of the streets with their little tiny communities. And so we started following them, and then all of a sudden they opened up a class to replicate. If you wanted to learn how to build something, a community, go down there and learn. And so, I mean, like, it was like just a week or so, and we were both down there, taking the classes and just, consuming what they had to offer. And we came back home. We had already filed for a 501(c)(3), so that was in the works. And then we started our business plan. I mean,
Yeah,
everything just fell together so quickly,
Mm.
right.
after we made the decision to go forward. And I make a joke a lot of times saying it's like an architect and a funeral director. What what qualifies us to even take on this role? But it was the passion to help our kids. And now the passion is to help others, right? So
Yeah.
it just keeps on going because there's a lot of people hurting. And we have room for 26. We have a goal for 140.
Yeah,
So
right now.
Mhm.
Yeah, right now we've
we're
got
we're still
26 living.
building.
And, just a note too, when we first started talking about this together, brainstorming, both of our sons were still alive. By the time we got the property, I had already lost Ross. And interesting note, of course, we're never gonna get over our losses. It's still incredibly painful. I think it was, um, a beautiful thing that Constance was the funeral director, you know, he it what a horrible time that was for me. It just I didn't even wanna ask. It was probably a couple years later. She the one that kind of got him ready. Yeah, she was the one that got him ready. Um, so I was able to thank her for that. I just the thought of that is it's just hard for me to even
Mhm.
think about. But, we've been through a lot together in a very short period of time. We've both lost our sons. We both started out really wanting to help our sons,
Mhm.
but our sons are gone. At least those two. She had 4 kids. I had 6 kids. So Dan was her oldest. Ross was my second oldest, and a lot of heartache. So
Mhm.
I'd say this
Mm.
place was started with a lot of pain and heartache,
Mhm.
but, that's life just does not pan out the way you plan it to. It just has so many twists and turns, and I think we just need to learn how to accept that that's, what God has allowed for whatever reason. That may not have been what He chose or wanted, but, He is able to redeem any situation, and I see him doing that through the village.
Mm. So what do you provide at the village?
Mm. Well, I love the idea of tiny living. In fact, some of our living is so tiny, it's just like a room that's a 8 by 10, but it is highly affordable, for people who are coming in. But I so love the concept of the tiny living because we've gotten away from that as American culture, and now we have these large houses where you have your media room, and then your game room, and your kitchen, and your exercise room, and all these, and everything is contained within the home. Our community is very different from that. So you get to have your safe space in your home and in your tiny space. But when you need an art room, we now have an art room. We have a pottery studio, a stained glass shop. If you want to exercise, there's the exercise room, the game room for parties, music someplace else, and gardening and animals. So to me, the tiny living allows people to expand out and just get to know other people and experience other things that are available in the village. Maybe some things that folks have never had a chance to explore before. Like our newest villager arrived yesterday, and there just happened to be a pottery class available. So she went up and she was so excited. She made her first bowl. Next week, she can drink from her bowl or have her soup or whatever from her bowl. What an experience. She was happy, to do something that she never had done before. And I think that's the beauty, of our facility, that you
Yeah.
can do so many different things. I have another girl that's pretty new, and she's exercising, and she's just creating, this space to stretch and feel comfortable and discipline herself, and she's bringing other people along, and I love that. And I mean,
Yeah, I think, what we're trying to do is to have enough variety to where anybody can find something to get involved in, and we don't want it to be mandatory because, it's your home. We don't want it to feel like a prison or a school or y it's a community with options, and, we do believe that the creative side is an important side of who you are. Now, of course, some people are more creative than others. Not everybody's gonna take advantage of the woodworking shop or the stained glass studio, but it's there, and, uh, people have learned to make beautiful things and feel so proud when they sell things in our gift shop. It's, it's a fun experience to see people just start with a little experimentation and turns out, hey, they've got a lot of talent, you know? Uh, we also offer Bible studies, spiritual classes, something every day, at least once a day, and, that's also not something we force on people, but, the ones that really do well are the ones that, take advantage of those, and it really helps, to be able to just, uh, you know, be open up about the things you're struggling with or learn about how to, improve your prayer life or understand scripture more or withstand temptations or whatever the lesson is that day. We have a lot of different formats for those classes. Sometimes it's just reading, sometimes it's watching a video and talking about it later. Sometimes it's just discussion groups, but it's open for anyone. We tend to have our regulars, but it's been a good thing.
And so you provide housing, you provide food as well?
we weren't counting on that in the beginning, but our community has been very supportive of us, and so the food banks help us with food. And then we're learning how to create better meals as a result. Most people who came to us were living on McDonald's, $1 a meal day. And our quality of food has very improved from that. So yes, now we provide it as long as we're being, sponsored with different um, provisions, from our community. So I'm excited about that. I wanted to just take a second and talk about we have a new coffee bar at the village. Laura and I started it like 4 years ago, and it just never got finished. But this year, the right volunteers came to help us, and so it's like twice as big as this table, and all these fancy chairs to
It's
sit around
16
it.
feet long.
16 feet long,
These
and
cool bar stools, yeah.
we made it out of leftover materials that came from all these bunk beds that we took apart. That were our place was a church camp first, so these rooms had 17 bunk beds in one place and 40 in another, and so we didn't throw anything away. We utilized every single thing. But now we have Saturday Night Live at the village. And it is so cool. So Laura's invested in these fancy coffee pots that do cappuccino machine.
Yeah.
They grind the coffee and they froth this milk, and I mean it's a treat, And so everyone lines up and she takes the orders, and then one person talks for 15 minutes about something, whatever the topic is, and then everybody else just joins in, and it is so much fun. A good way to spend the evening. A different kind of bar. They're used to a different kind of bar.
Yeah.
So this coffee bar is acceptable. You can have a lot of fun at a coffee bar, but
yeah, and different people will will be the host. We do this once a week, and we've had all different kinds of topics.
And we learn about each other.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. Like one of our villagers used to go to film school. And so he's going to do a tribute to Val Kilmer on Saturday this week. And he's all excited. He's been talking about it all week long. So he's doing a little study. And then we said afterwards, we're going to go watch a movie. And it's like, how fun is that? It's like, what else would you be doing on a Saturday night? So anyways, I just think that's a cool thing. Creative, but...
Well, it's building that aspect of community too.
Yeah.
Like I know you've both talked a lot about like the importance of community and then avoiding isolation.
Yes,
and
right.
Damaging isolation.
That is a really important point that we try to take seriously, is to ensure that nobody isolates themselves, because that's the beginning of the downward spiral. When you start feeling bad about life, you just want to crawl under a rock, lock your door, and you don't want anybody to know. So we don't let people just stay in their rooms. I mean, if we haven't seen you for a couple days, you'll get a knock on your door saying, "Hey, is everything okay?" So that's a big part of it. Just creating these even just fun events where people are going to want to join in. Of course, there's meal times. Every night we have supper. You don't have to come, but it's free food. Why wouldn't you want to come? And then in the morning, there's breakfast. She mentioned the Saturday Night Live, which is just kind of a fun thing. And then we started another thing that on Mondays where there's just an hour of silence. Some people are intimidated to go to a group discussion, but maybe you'll be willing to come to an hour of silence. We've had a few in the greenhouse before the weather gets crazy hot. That's a good spot, and we like to have music with it. So sometimes it's just piped in music, but we've had someone playing the guitar. One week I played the piano, so it's really whoever.
They bring journals, and they can write songs. We have a couple of songwriters, poetry writers, artists.
Mm-hmm.
And so they use that hour of nobody else interfering with just their creative flow. Sometimes somebody just sleeps for an hour in peace and quiet, and that's kind of a sweet thing, So
we're just experimenting, but But really, like she said, trying to create a space where people
Mhm.
feel at home.
So what are your requirements for joining the village, becoming a resident?
Well, we like when we hear somebody's interested in the village for them to come take a tour first because we're very unique, idea, very unique concept, and so we say that first. Then fill out an application. $30 accompanies the application that qualifies you for an interview, and then we just start talking with someone to find out, are they ready for our community? Are we ready for them? We do a lot of praying, to uh, ask the only wise God if this is something that would be a good fit for our village. And then, we go from that. Sometimes people have challenges, so it gives us an opportunity to know what those challenges are ahead of time so we can troubleshoot, and come up with a good plan for the person who's coming in.
I'd say
So,
pretty much they always have challenges. In fact, if you don't have challenges, you may not
You don't
belong
need to
in
be
the
there. Yeah.
but not we,
because we wanna make it clear this is not just a cheap place
It's
to
not just
live.
housing. Yeah.
yeah.
It's, you're here for, personal growth, and what we try to screen for is the willingness to make positive changes in your life, we've gotten wiser on the screening process. Before, we used to believe everybody's story. Now we kinda know the questions to ask, and
Mhm.
we're a little wiser. We do drug tests, and we make it clear now that we have a plan for engaging people. There's the fun stuff that we've mentioned, but there's also, committees. We 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 need to get a commitment that people are willing to either be on the cleaning committee, the kitchen committee, the lawn and maintenance committee, or the transportation committee. Those are different ways that people can serve, and many people living with us do not have jobs. In fact, probably most don't because they're on disability of some sort or, veterans vouchers, um, and if you don't have a full-time job, we ask 5 hours a week to help out around the property, and, if you do have a full-time job, it's 2.5 hours. So, we that doesn't sound like a lot, and people will typically say, "Oh, no problem," but sometimes when it comes right down to it, they're not used to being asked to do those things, or they wanna do it on their own terms, so there's, a little pushback at times. So, we've had some growth in those areas, but the committees have been the one thing that have worked. We've had some other failed attempts of how to get people involved because at the beginning, it was just she and I busting our tails, and
Mm.
people would just watch us, paint all the houses and mow the grass and cook the meals, and it's like, "Wait a minute, are we really helping people
Mhm.
if they're just sitting around watching 2 ladies who are not spring chickens anymore busting tail when they could easily be helping?" And I think we were maybe a little more idealistic at the beginning, just assuming that, well, if we provide a great environment, people are automatically gonna wanna come and
Mm.
help and be grateful for it, but, human nature is human nature, and that's just a fact of life. So, we need incentive, we need sometimes consequences, but really, when you think about it, it's not much to ask, and people do feel good about themselves once they kinda just accept that and
Mhm.
get with that program and pitch in.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've been thinking about the scenario of community living, and I think many of our villagers that come maybe don't even have a sense of community because many come from families that are broken. So the idea, like families should be a great community to start, the learning concepts of community or your church community or, other communities that pickleball community, whatever. So there's like a little thing going on for people to gather and connect. But I think a lot of our folks really don't understand community. So we have to we have to establish what that looks like, for us. And in the part of contributing, I think many of our folks don't have that background of, hey, let me pitch in. They haven't had to. They've couch surfed for a long time, or they've lived in their car, or just trying to make it on their own. They understand that. But when you're asking them to leave that thought behind and now become part of a community, it's a scratching of the head. It's like, what are you talking about? And so it takes time, to really establish that, or at least the concept that we have of community.
Mhm.
Some people thought we were trying to start a cult, in the beginning, because it's like such a foreign concept, but it shouldn't be. And of course, it's not for everyone, but the folks that we are reaching out to, I think really have severe challenges in that as well. So we're trying to redefine some good things, break old chains, So it's
It
exciting.
is very rewarding when you hear some of the comments after a time living there. I've heard things like, I finally found a place where I belong, or I feel loved here, um, or I need this place.
Mhm.
If I didn't have this place, I'm afraid I'd just go back down out into drug use or whatever. And so they need that sense of security. And one thing that's also very unique to us is that we have no time limit. We don't believe that there's a set time that a person can get well in. It may be a couple months for somebody whose problems aren't too deep. It might be a couple years for others, and it might be a lifelong journey for others. So, um, as long as these people feel that the village is benefiting them, and as long as they are a community participant and they're being a blessing, I mean, and it doesn't have to be in any big ways, but if they're not, causing major issues, then we're not going to kick you out. You can stay there for the long haul if needed,
Mm.
and some people do need that.
So what are what are the rules for residents living there?
Well, put together a fairly simple set of rules, and I don't have it in front of me, but I remember just trying to break it down to where there were categories, and then with simple bullet points underneath. One is be a blessing to your community. Uh, Keep the village safe. Keep the village clean. Um, what's
I'm thinking about
yeah,
quiet hours,
yeah.
respecting quiet
There's
hours for people.
but it's basically a list. It's one page long. I tried to really condense it to where it didn't sound like a bunch of don't do this, don't do that,
Mhm.
don't. But it's do this, do that to make the place a better place, and it's really how to be respectful of others. Don't gossip. Don't you know don't be abusive in any way. Don't share your medications or that type of thing. There. I think under keep the village safe, that's probably part of that one where, um, you know, we don't allow people to just pop open a beer on their front porch. Now, we don't raid people's refrigerators to check if you got um, a six-pack in your fridge because that is not illegal. Now, we do not allow illegal drugs,
Okay, so no
including
substance
marijuana.
use.
0.
So, like you said, you mentioned drug testing prior. Is that like a continued like drug testing, or is it?
Well, for certain people
Or vulnerable.
that are
Mm.
vulnerable, yes, and especially when if we know that's a weakness when people first come in, sometimes they come in under a little stricter guidelines where you'll need a drug test every week. Not everybody struggles with that, but we've had drugs brought onto the property by others and offered it to other residents, and that was talk about drama. That was
Mm.
huge, and we cannot have that. There there will be no sense of safety if we allow that on the property. So that is an absolute no.
Yeah.
We've had to ask quite a few people, well, I don't know, maybe 10 to 15 over the last 5 years to leave, because they were creating a situation where it made the village seem unsafe for others.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got to put the safety of the community above the convenience or the preferences of one particular resident.
Yeah, it's like when you say no time limits, that's in regards to like as long as you're growing and maintaining, and
as
not
long as you're keeping the rules and you are a good community member.
It's not you can't just do whatever you want.
Exactly.
So,
although there's a lot of freedom there.
Well, yeah, like you said, you don't require people to do the Bible studies. You don't require them to take pottery classes.
Yeah.
It's highly encouraged to do all those things. Yes,
absolutely. We are a faith-based organization.
Mm-hmm. Some people think, well, can I leave the village anytime I want? Yes, you can.
Do you have a curfew?
We don't necessarily have a curfew other than quiet time, so they can come and go. But if somebody's gone for 2 or 3 days, it's a drug test when you come back. You know, just because we don't know where they're going or what's happening. You know what's going on in that arena, but it's not a prison for sure. No. You know, so and you can have guests come. Today, someone said, "Well, can my grandkids come?" It's like, yeah, you know, they can come. There's supervision and it's a safe environment. You know, and we want to encourage family and relationships. So they just probably can't spend the night or stay for indefinite amount of time. You know, and pre-approval is always grateful. We're grateful for that.
Occasionally we've had guests that want to be regular guests that are not necessarily the best guests for the village. So we've had to come up with a guest policy. We make policies when
I'm sure it's like as you find there's a reason that like
we keep adding
these warning labels in society. It's because someone did something dumb.
Yeah.
And now we have to say, don't swallow the desiccant
or the coffee's hot.
Yeah, or the coffee's hot. Exactly.
Yeah.
Although McDonald's does make their coffee a little hot. It is a little scalding. Mm-hmm. I've heard. Allegedly. Yeah. I had a question next and I lost it on my train of thought. Ben, do you have any questions?
Hey, I saw that there is a gala coming up.
I was going to get to that at the end.
Wow, I know, but what all does that? And you can definitely self-promote that at the end. I'm just curious, what all does that look like? It's just a big party, a shindig?
Yeah, well, this is our second annual gala. We're calling it Souls in Bloom. It's a springtime gala, so that was we had that name picked out last year, and we decided to keep it every year. It's going to be our annual Souls in Bloom Gala, and it's a fundraiser, but it's a fancy fundraiser. And it's a little pricier than some, $100 a ticket, but there's limited seating. We have it in our community hall. This year we figured out how to add a few more seats. I think we can seat like 210 people. So, but we'll have, we had a really good dinner last year. We'll have the same setup this year, really beautiful table decorations.
A 3-course meal.
Oh, yeah, 3-course meal. We will have a bar with, wine and beer type of thing, a couple drinks, if for people that like that. We'll kind of have that sort of off to the side. But we'll have an inspirational speaker, which is our own chief of staff, Cheryl Brady, who I guess we'll know tomorrow if she gets elected to the school board. But
that's right, she's running. We see the signs all around town.
Yep, I know. Oh. She's been running for school board. But anyway, Cheryl is our chief of staff, and she spoke for us last year, gave a great speech with a lot of positive comments. We'll have a pianist playing kind of soft conversation music in the background. We'll have a auction, a silent auction. Let's see.
Well, I like to bring out the fact that our mentors that we have at the village, one mentor is an event planner. So she was the one who started the whole idea. And Laura and I tried fundraising, and we went in the hole. We didn't.
Yeah, we stink at it.
We didn't do too good, but she came along and helped us overcome our fears and has actually brought success to what's going on.
Yeah.
So she brings style and class, to what we're doing, which is wonderful. But we get a bonus because her husband, Brian, is a singer, a performer, and he does beautiful guitar music. Red Dirt, I think, is his classification.
Little country.
Yeah, and so he and his band will be there. So I'm just really excited. But it's not just that we went out and found other people. They're the people that make up our village.
Yeah.
And so we've heard many people say, well, I haven't been out to the village. So the gala gives an opportunity for people to come out and see where we are. Most of the time when we talk about the village, there's no clear understanding of what we're talking about. But when someone comes to the village and takes the tour, it's like, I had no idea, that this is what the village is all about. And we get to hear that a lot. But we could have the event somewhere else, but we've chosen just to keep it at the village. So people can see what we're doing and how we're growing from year to year.
And I need to mention one feature of the evening will be this great video that
yet to be put together. It's in the process of being put together.
Amos and Kyle and Katie are putting together. Last year, you guys did such an amazingly professional job. It was.
Well, thank you.
We got so many compliments of that video that really helped explain what we're about. So this year might be a little more
shorter,
condensed.
a little different. We didn't have as much time to get it filmed because I know like the last one we it was a compilation
like 12,
of multiple videos put together.
It was 12 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So this one will be a little shorter, but great video. And I haven't seen this year's yet, but we'll see.
So what are your goals for the fundraiser?
We are anticipating a $60,000 win. And that particular venture of money is to redo a bathroom that we desperately need for the second community.
A bath house.
Yeah. So we have a very old, I don't even know how they used it at the campground, but it's like gals on one side, guys on the other, no privacy doors. So we happen to have an architect on staff who can transform things. And so she's put together a game plan that would give 4 individual rooms that allow for a shower, a commode, and a sink, private entrance, locking door, and then the ability to have a washroom, washers and dryers. And so we're hoping we can do all of that for $60,000. So
actually, no, it's going to be more than that. But
labor sometimes is free.
Yeah. Well,
with our volunteers,
it's going to need a lot of work. But if we get free labor, who knows? But that was, I think, our goal for the fundraiser, and it will go towards that building. And the reason that's become a priority, I won't go into the weeds on it, but it's been a challenge to figure out how to get water to all these new neighborhoods because the small water supplier that we're under right now is not able to provide us any more water. We do have a well on site. We're looking into all these different options to use well water, but there's limitations. So this particular bath house that Constance just mentioned, it was an old outdoor, it's not air conditioned, just kind of a campground style bathhouse. So it will be a bath, shower, laundry facility, and then we're extending the roof some to make an outdoor kitchen, and that will allow neighborhood 2 to be fully functional until we figure out how to get permanent water connections to the tiny houses. Everybody can, and not all of our tiny houses have bathrooms. In fact, many don't, and they do have to use public bathhouse type situations, which is no big deal. It's better than a tent. It's better than your car. And we don't get
But
a lot of
the tiny houses have ACs, they have power.
Yes, they're all air conditioned. They at least have a mini fridge and a microwave,
Coffee pot.
Yeah.
You just may not have water too.
And it's got a bed and a comfy chair at least. So, but this will allow neighborhood 2 to just be fully functional.
Okay, so that's the goal for the fundraiser, the main goal.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's where we're going to put all the money for this year into that building.
Okay, so how many volunteers do you guys get out there?
Oh my goodness!
I can't count.
Thank goodness for this school, SFA. Central Heights School definitely helps us out with volunteers. Churches help us with volunteers, and sororities and fraternities. I'll bet in the course of a year, we have close to 300 volunteers that would come out and just help us on various projects. And we love that. I like to think of us as a place that empowers our community to serve. Many businesses are beginning to connect with us as well. We have Parker that is coming in June to spend a day with us, working on particular project. I think I have one in mind that they're going to do. But I love that the businesses in our community are actually making space for their employees to do community service. That's a new thing to me. I haven't really noticed that in times past, but times are changing, and the value of contributing to folks that need, help is huge. And
the United Way is putting forth the what's it called, the day of serving or something like that, and we've had a couple churches too that'll designate a day, maybe a Sunday even, where everybody goes out and serves in a different place in the community, and we've been included in that, so that's always been huge. I know First Baptist has sent quite a few. I mean, big group. Regents Academy is another one that comes out regularly to help, and I know we're leaving people out, but a lot of just a lot of community groups. The pilot.
Leadership Nac.
Yeah, Leadership Nacogdoches was out. One of the Rotary clubs, the Tuesday group, came out a lot of people come out just to find out about us. We've had the SFA nursing program. They came out once a week for, a couple of years. And SFA social work now has really connected with us. And
Texas State University found us.
Yeah.
I mean, they did a 10-week program with us to start our very first farm stand idea of entrepreneuring. So as people find out, it's very exciting.
Yeah.
One day we had a phone call from Washington and Florida of people, trying to connect with us to see if we would have a space available. The hospitals call us. Some people ask, how do people find out about you, right? So a lot of folks find out through the internet. We have a good website available to us. And then our sons were in hospitals, so that they know about us through the Burke Center and now the VA, the veterans. We have a new opportunity on the horizon with a veteran organization that wants to build tiny houses for us. And we look forward to seeing what that might entail this next couple of months. So it's really an exciting venture.
Yeah.
An adventure. We used to say in the beginning, we said, we better hang on to our hats. And we're still having to hang on. I mean, you just don't know from day to day, what's going to fall into our lap and what we get to deal with.
Yeah.
So
tell me about the micro enterprises.
Oh, well, we saw the idea of micro enterprises from Community First in Austin, and they gave people the opportunity to make a dignified income. We so love that idea for us, and not really knowing how it would unfold. So we're still learning what that means for us. But we acquired all the stained glass that we can use for years to come.
That was from Glass Castles when they retired. They gifted us a huge amount of glass.
And then a teacher came. And so now we have villagers who are making some income by making stained glass. Our pottery lady, we received all of the pottery equipment first, not knowing anything about pottery, either one of us. And then 1 year later, a potter came to the village. And so now she's made her own studio there. And she creates pottery and she gives teaching lessons. So there's a form of income coming from that. We were gifted sublimation equipment to make our own mugs. So those are part of the take home for our sponsorships this year. We're putting together a swag bag. They'll have homemade mugs from the village available. And so, but the farm stand was the thing that is our latest thing. We had a young baker come to the village, which we did not know that she was a baker. She was a person who tended towards isolation. But Jonesy asked her to bake a cake for a birthday party, and that changed her life at the village because that cake was so delicious, so beautifully done, that we then recognized that she was a baker. And then we knew that she told us she had her food handler license. And I was like, now, wait a second. And then right after that, the Texas State Department came. Texas State University. And they said, we want to work, their social work department said, we want to work with you to do something. What does the village need? And so I'd been studying these farm stands, the self-serve farm stand. And they said, that's the project that we want to help you with. So for 10 weeks, we were dialoguing back and forth, and they gave us a lot of pointers, and we included this particular lady in all of the conversations. So she got to be encouraged and hear the development. She came up with her own name for her business, her own logo, and her DBA, doing business as. And then we created a farm stand on wheels that is transportable to go anywhere. We made our first debut at the Multicultural Festival, and that girl was beaming to tell people about what she experienced. And she said, I haven't had anybody invest this much time in anything that I've done before. And that just felt really good because she's on a roll.
Yeah.
She's on a roll. I mean, and her cart's on a roll. So she makes delicious brownies and cookies, and we're learning about packaging. And so she made some money, and so it's just the beginning of an entrepreneur thing. So we hope to develop classes in the future because we want it to be something that's sustainable and not a fly-by-night idea. So,
and we also hope to have that farmers market concept grow. In fact, when you look at our master plan, you can see we've got a little rectangle on the site plan for farmers market. And we've already indented our fenced area for a future parking lot for whenever people drive in to buy stuff. It's down by our chicken coop, so we could
sell eggs and
farm fresh eggs,
garden
vegetables. We've got the hydroponic greenhouse now. And then, of course, she can sell her baked goods. And then we can have some of the artisan crafty type things, the pottery, the stained glass, things from our woodworking shop. So we do hope to have that in the near future for the public to come and participate in. We do already have a gift shop. Anybody can come and buy a lot of that stuff. Not the eggs and the baked goods, but
the crafts and the micro enterprise.
Yeah, we have that in our community
pottery,
hall.
Stained glass.
But we're kind of off the beaten path, and not everybody even knows we exist yet. But
maybe I'll need a little shop in town.
Well, we may, if we're looking into. Can she have that mobile farm stand with her baked goods? Could we park that on the sidewalk somewhere? I don't know. Do you need a permit? Those are some questions we have to ask, but it's started. We'll be there at the Blueberry Festival for sure.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say it was really awesome to see Mosaic Youth go out last year and help you guys out. Both my girls were a part of that, and so we got to go pick them up afterwards, and they just came back eyes wide open. Oh, we got to do so much stuff, and they were just some good hard work, and it was really awesome and encouraging to see what's going on out there.
Well, there's plenty going on, that's for sure. Our end goal is the transformation of the individual, and there are just so many different layers and aspects as to what that looks like and what's involved in it. All the things we've talked about are just different ways to reach different people.
Have you guys recognized any commonality between the different residents that caused them to need the village? Is there an overarching?
Well, almost every single person that comes says that they have a difficulty with trust, so that's very common. It seems like when they tell us that, it seems in their mind that's an unusual thing, but we've come to realize that's actually a very common thing. So creating a community that seems safe to learn how to trust in those relationships is huge. We're still learning how to be consistent with that.
I think many people suffer from regrets and sorrow from things that have happened in their past. And that makes it hard for, in the natural, to get over, some traumatic things that could actually occur. You can't get over that on your own. I mean, I've come to the conclusion that it takes the Lord through the Holy
Yes,
Spirit,
absolutely.
to enable us to not only forgive others, but to forgive ourselves.
Yep.
And I think that is like the main thing that people have a hard time gripping or grappling with to understand. But when the understanding comes, the freedom comes, and then the beauty unfolds.
Yeah.
And so, if we can be instrumental in helping people, recognize that our Lord and Savior is all that He claims to be, and that much more, is very, very exciting. But where would we be without forgiveness? Where would we be without grace and mercy?
Mm-hmm.
Where would we be without the things that the Lord offers us? And I don't think many of our folks have had an opportunity to walk a walk that is alive, with Christ. So
Yeah,
hopefully they'll find, that the inspiration, not only from us, sometimes it's volunteers that come and speak into somebody's life and just gives a different slant, a different perspective, that begins to open a door for something. We love the Save Savages, when they come out. I love saying that, the Save Savages.
Yeah, they've been on the podcast. Randall's been on the podcast.
Okay, yeah. But they are so beautiful, as their own community. But when they reach into our community, our community really responds to, their message. And, their message is just the truth of the Word of God. And that's transformative, when you can take that as a medicinal pill,
And I think the solution is often simpler than what people assume it to be. We make life so complicated. And really, when it comes down to it, we all kind of almost need to be freed from ourselves, from our self nature, because self is always the problem. When you really look deep at, what the issues are, if many people feel insecure about how they compare with others or how they're being perceived or whether they're valuable in the world's eyes. It's all how we're looking at ourself. But when we can look to the Lord instead of ourselves, it frees us from all of that, and that's a hard thing to explain, and it really has to be more modeled, but um, we're working on it.
So how have you all developed in the course of building this community?
Well, I don't mind saying that the day that I decided to be an active part of the village, which was January of 2020, I knew intuitively that it would require being transparent. And so um, I love that part of my contribution to the village because I can personally see how I've grown from day one with the trauma that, with living with Daniel for he was at the village for a while, living with him, going through the challenges, and then the loss. There's holes, and the village is filling the holes. And as I'm experiencing the filling of my uh, wounded, person, I'm just really growing beyond who I thought I could be. And as I experience the beauty of moving from ashes to, something of beauty, I'm grateful, for my journey and that I get to share this with other people. And I never wanted to portray that I've got all of it together, right? And that I'm above anybody else because I think all of us have areas in our life that need healing. And we're just not so open to admit it in front of somebody. But I am not ashamed, to say that there's places that are still broken inside of me, and I am experiencing the village as a part of the answer for my own walk. And so it's such a beautiful thing to watch it. And then as I'm healing, I can speak into other people's lives because I've been there, understand that, thought those thoughts, lived in that darkness, and then the freedom that comes. It's like such an oxymoron that you can surrender your life and receive freedom, that you can obey what the Lord depicts, as His kingdom, and then to be free. It just doesn't even make sense to me. But once you experience it, what a beautiful thing. And so that's how I live at the village, and I just grow all the time. And I love it. So.
And I guess I think the village is helping me to really see the importance of simplicity. Over the years, I think I've let my life get way too complex, with having my own business and, of course, there's all different aspects of life that come together. I guess at the moment, I feel like I have 2 full-time jobs, and then, of course, there's family on top of that, and church, and all these different, community, uh, organizations being involved with that, and seeing the need to just simplify and kind of in the process of making that happen. I don't take near as much work as I used to, but it's still too much. And really, over the years, uh, I don't know, the village, it does take a lot of time, and now that we don't have a big staff, we only have, 6 people, but, um, we're getting more organized, and we're growing, and it just requires a lot more time. I've actually moved into a tiny home, um, about to start renting my house, so making some shifts, and then,
Big
of
changes.
course, I'm building Ross's octagon house that was his design inspiration. That's under construction now, so eventually, when that's finished, I'll move into the octagon house. That was his dream house. Um, Still a huge downsize, but that's a major transition for me, and I just am really feeling that I want my life to count. I don't want to be divided. I want to have make time for the things that matter, that will have eternal value. And I mean, it's not that a lot of the things we involve ourselves in are bad things, but are they the most important things? So I think the village has just helped me sift through those things and try to move towards priorities. And I do spend a lot of time. I teach 3 classes a week out there, and I have coffee with people in the morning, different people. I go through, maybe read through a chapter of scripture every week with certain people, things like that. Those things do matter. But when I'm here at the office and out there and everywhere, I feel like I need to consolidate my time a little better, just be more intentional about that.
Mm-hmm.
But it has helped me in the healing process as well. I mean, I'm still, and I'm also not ashamed to say I'm still have some broken pieces. I mean, losing Ross was just absolutely devastating. I, I'm not sure I'll ever get over it, and not sure I need to, want to. I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would expect you to.
You know, so, but yeah, there's been a lot of heartaches in life, but that's why the village is here. We're not unique in that so many people have had heartaches in life, and everybody feels like their heartache is huge and hard to carry. So if we can just learn how to allow God to carry us through and take others along with us, teach them how to allow the arms of God to just carry those burdens that we can't manage, then maybe it's all worth it.
Yeah. So when is the gala?
May 17th.
May 17th?
5 o'clock for looking at all the auction items.
Yeah.
6 o'clock for dinner and a show.
So show up, have a nice date.
Yeah.
Daycare?
Yes, we are going to have a babysitting, aren't we? We talked about that. We did last year.
Yeah, you did last year.
We need to find a babysitter, but I don't want to say that on what was our decision? I thought we decided we were going to have it.
Tentative daycare?
Tentative daycare.
Okay.
Let's leave it at that.
Okay. Well, it has not been firmed up yet, but
okay, we'll find out closer to the date. I know this podcast should come out on the 8th.
Okay.
So, and where would people go to sign up for the gala?
Oh, you can do it online right now. We have a very easy way. You go to our website, and then
there's in big red letters right now. It says "Click here to buy tickets for the gala." There's a link that'll take you right to the ticket sales.
Okay, and your website is?
Yes, which is thevillagenac.com.
Villagenac.com. Okay, and how else can people support you guys?
Well,
when you go to that website, there's a list of many different projects that we're working on, and so financially is always a great way to help us out. But folks can also just sign up for volunteering. Come out and spend some time with us and help us do some projects.
Yeah.
We have a phone call is really great, and we can fill people in on what the current need of the week is, what's going on. We're putting up on Amazon a wish list, so people can just fill out the different things that they're interested in helping support us with. But those are some common ways.
Cool.
So,
all right, well, thank you for coming in.
No
I think I know what you guys are doing is really needed in the community, and there's a lot of people who benefit tremendously from it.
Is it all right to ask you a question?
Sure.
So what do you see? You've been at the village a time or two. How is it affecting you? Have you seen anything unique or maybe took you by surprise?
I don't know. Not much affects me.
Not much.
I don't know. It's a hard question.
Mhm.
I appreciate what you do, and I know that it is very sad when I see people who have no place to go,
Mhm.
and seeing that they do have a place to go, that is a safe place, that has boundaries, appropriate boundaries and rules around it, so that they can flourish and live a better life, and then graduate. That was my other question I wanted to get to. Is like, what does it look like graduating or moving on from the village?
Oh, well, one of the interviews that you all did for this upcoming video is a good example of that, where Bethany has left because she got to a place where she felt she was ready, and that's the best way to leave. When, in fact, Kyle was taken by surprise. She said, "I remember seeing her at church when she first came. She was so withdrawn and noticeably withdrawn, and to see her just totally transform into a confident young lady who has been able to go out and get a job, and now she's found a boyfriend, and she's starting a new life, that was pretty amazing, and we are so proud of her. So really, graduating, um, it's usually just a matter of being ready to move on.
Okay. But no, I really appreciate what you guys do, and even though I don't like outwardly show it, I'm just so jaded on the outside.
I can close my eyes and see you on the back of a golf cart filming, and it just cracks me up just to watch you. Like, you are into it, and I love to
I get
see you
absorbed.
when you're
Yeah.
over there. So good things happen when you show up.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So, all right. Well, thank you guys for coming
Yeah,
in.
thank you.
And yeah, hopefully you guys have a full house.
That's what we're hoping
Yeah, I
for.
hope so.
Thank you.
All right.
Oh, Kyle was saying he listened to our episode, and he was listening at a time and a half, and he said, "Ben, you were going through those questions so fast, and Amos just was not a response." I was like, "Yeah, dude, if you had slowed it down regular time, it would have been perfectly fine."
My wife said it was quite humorous, like listening to me give my single word answers to stuff. She's like, "Oh, it's so Amos."
Not giving me anything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No
I
feedback.
know.
Well, it's like when Connie asked, like, what have I gotten from the village? And it's like, I don't display things outwardly much.
I mean, what is your deal, Amos?
I'm the son here's my deal. I am the son of a pastor and a salesman, like same person. So it's like you get like a really high bullshit meter from that. And then you also learn to not show anything, because when you show, they attack.
It gives it away.
Yeah. Well, it's like salesmen. If you show, they're like, ooh, there's my in.
Yeah.
And with preachers or people pushing theology, when you like, ooh, there's my in. There's a way to like.
See, and I guess I'm just a sucker. I mean, I'm a sucker for Facebook ads. I'm a sucker for all of it.
Facebook ads.
I lay it all, pretty much all out there. Like it or don't.
See, I don't think Google knows who I am, because I don't get customized ads. I don't get any of that kind of stuff. Like, maybe I'll see stuff from like eBay if I looked it up on eBay, or some like direct searches.
Yeah.
But outside of that, like,
well, the other day at the men's roundtable, John had mentioned in passing about his neighbor dog. I brought it up on the pod a couple episodes ago, and that ad for a bark frequency something.
I think it's a high pitch frequency that dogs can't.
Came across, and I've never seen that before in my life. So maybe my algorithm is just
it'll
listening.
be what you think. When Neuralink is there, it'll be like you'll think about something and then you'll see an ad for it.
What, you're gonna get the Neuralink?
No, I said you.
Oh, me. Oh, you think I'm gonna get it?
I don't know.
Welcome to the after show. The show after the show has ended, and me and Amos just sit here and talk about all kinds of random stuff. We had Village Nac on today. Dude, what an awesome ministry that they are providing to a small community. You wouldn't think the size of Nacogdoches, we're relatively small, a small city. how impactful, different organizations in this local area are becoming, are getting started here. It's kind of exciting. Um, Obviously, you've been out there. I've been out there, I believe, once or twice. Um, Not necessarily to volunteer or help or anything, but it's a cool spot out there. It's really cool. I'm a sucker for tiny home living. I really like the idea of just like shedding all, material aspects and getting rid of most of your stuff and just downsizing dramatically. And so that the way that they're kind of tackling homelessness and mental illness with that, I think is very fascinating because it just simplifies your life. You're able to focus on what's truly important, what's really needed to get better and to get healthy. Um, yeah, it was really really insightful to hear the origin story of that too.
Well, and I really appreciate Laura and Connie's. I mean, their motivation for doing so obviously comes from a place of tragedy,
Yeah,
but like their hearts are 100% in the right place.
right.
I mean, full disclosure, I've known Connie for 25 years. I mean, most people call her Constance because that's how she introduces herself.
Yeah.
And like, I still have a hard time not calling her just Connie because that's how we knew her for years. But yes, I like 100% back what they do.
Yeah.
Appreciate them, and they are a valuable part of the community. And any way that you can support, help
please,
them.
Guys, go check them out. VillageNacNac.com. There's a give button on the website there. And yeah, just go check them out and see what they're up to. They've got a pretty cool website with photos of the property and stuff in different areas, and it's a great, like I said, it's a great ministry and a great facility. A lot of cool stuff and a lot of growth. I mentioned during the episode the youth, Mosaic Youth, went out there last summer and helped them out. I hope they go out there this year. I'll have to bring that up with Maylee, see if that's on the docket. But it was, I just remember being a teen and when we did, whether it be go feed the homeless or something out of the ordinary, right? As a youth, just changes your perspective. And I think that's it's very important for even just grown adults to go volunteer and do stuff like that. So stay tuned. Would definitely have to have them back to, do a more lighthearted, more update on Village Nac and see what's going on. But it was great chatting with them and getting the behind the scenes of how it started. So it's an awesome deal.
May 17th. Check out the gala.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a good time.
Check it out.
Where can we be found?
Hey, we're streaming everywhere on YouTube, on Spotify. If you have a podcast app, you can find us there. Type it in, Christians Talking About Shit. Apple Podcast.
I even added us to Amazon.
Amazon.
Yeah,
whoa.
we're on Amazon now. Yeah, I'm like, well,
why not?
Why not?
Why not?
In for a penny, in for a pound.
Yeah, definitely. We want to start, curating some buzz and some community driven conversations. So if you guys have any questions for us about the show, if you've made it this far in the show, some people don't even know there's an outro.
I'm sure.
If you made it this far,
this is deep.
Even if you know us and you see us on a week to week basis, get in the comments. Give us a little jab, maybe a little friendly jab, or ask us a question. See, we'll jump in there and respond. And we'd love to, connect with our fans and see where this is reaching. You know? So,
alrighty.
Bye.
Kind of like when you say "see ya" more.
Oh, don't start it now. You don't like bye?